A monumental day, for better and worse, happened pretty recently. Bitcoin ETFs were approved.
Mercurial ride of Bitcoin.
11 Bitcoin investment funds to start trading on stock exchange.
Asset class that protects you.
Right. This has been such a reoccurring topic, and every time it was pulled right away. But finally, Bitcoin ETFs have been approved and in a large quantity, yet they dumped. After all this, instead of Bitcoin rocketing over $100,000 per coin, BTC actually went down in price. But why? Oh, there was a Trojan horse among the Bitcoin ETFs. And now many people are also starting to eye Ethereum as being a very plausible next ETF. My name is Vosk, you're on the VoskCoin YouTube channel. We're going to break down what exactly happened, why, what the future looks like, why I am expanding my Bitcoin ETF portfolio, and I'm going to be personally eyeing the Ethereum ETF as well. And while there's very bad news for Bitcoin ETFs, there is light at the end of the tunnel. At least I believe so. We're also going to break down WTF an ETF is. And in full disclosure, this video is not sponsored by any of these companies. All right, I do hold numerous stocks and ETFs, including some that we'll talk about today, but I actually do have a video sponsor, and that's going to be ASIC Marketplace, who could get you into the Bitcoin mining game. You head over to their site, throw a Bitcoin miner in your cart, and earn passive income mining Bitcoin every day. Because right now, more Bitcoin is being taken out of the BTC ecosystem than is being minted daily in new coins. Just let that sink in. So Blackrock took almost 12,000 Bitcoin from supply in 2 days. 900 Bitcoins are issued daily. You can see that Blackrock moved into their cash supply last night. That alone is 13 days of supply. We're going to talk about the Trojan horse, which is GBTC. But if this pace continues, we're going to be facing a severe supply crunch. So if you basically take 12,000 Bitcoins, right, times 4, it's nearly 23,000 per day. That's 25 times more than the daily production, right, of newly mined and minted Bitcoins being consumed by United States ETFs alone. And in about 90 days, that becomes 51 days of supply gone because of the Bitcoin halving, where the amount of new Bitcoins mined per day will decrease from 900 to 450. That is crazy. But there's a very bad thing about the ETFs, and I'll talk more about that later. But as an update on the GBTC sell-off, right? And what is GBTC? The recent downturn in Bitcoin price is apparently due to this Grayscale's GBTC, right, along with the FTX situation. We are still dealing with the fallout of FTX, which really sucks. FTX has substantial GBTC holdings, and they're redeeming them because they filed for bankruptcy and they're essentially liquidating, right, because they're bankrupt. We look at how much GBTC they have. They have over $500 million as of October 2023. Okay, this has gone up in value since then. A lot of people are dumping their GBTC shares, right? Over 25 billion worth of Bitcoin that's been locked up for years with no option to be sold or redeemed. So as soon as the redemption option opened, for the first time, many people are saying, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. The Grayscale GBTC has egregious fees, especially compared to their newfound Bitcoin ETF competitors. What exactly is GBTC, right? So the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust was one of the first securities solely and passively invested in Bitcoin that enabled investors to gain exposure to Bitcoin in the form of security while avoiding the challenges of buying, storing, and safekeeping BTC. So there was a very real premium on this. But drama unfolded as Barry Shilbert was revealed for the shrewd businessman that he is. So they have a basically brother-sister relationship with their companies Genesis and DCG, or Digital Currency Group. And basically, DCG filed for bankruptcy to buy a bunch of time for Genesis to basically make money, for hopefully the market to pick up, Bitcoin ETFs, and the redemption capability for these GBTC shares. So they are working on paying back their fake lended note between them and their sub company Genesis, right? And this is just some very advanced BS business moves that, in my opinion, is nothing short of just like white collar scheming, right? But GBTC can only drag this down so much. BlackRock's IBIT saw the third biggest inflow, right? Grayscale only lost 95 million in early tally from this article. And Fidelity, that proudly boasts that they are maintaining self-custody of their Bitcoin for their Bitcoin ETF, and they are one of, if not the only one that I'm aware of, that is doing that, which is really cool, really crazy, and proudly means that Coinbase is pretty much holding almost everyone's Bitcoin, which pros and cons to that. And really the only pros I see are being a Coinbase investor, which I do own the coin stock, so it's not the worst thing positioned for the upside, at least for me. Are you? I've been saying Coinbase has been undervalued since 30 bucks. So I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but check the receipts on the video uploads here on the VoskCoin YouTube channel. Some of these numbers are crazy to see. It's also really cool to see some of these funds actually support Bitcoin. Hopefully that doesn't mean that they'll end up like taking control of it. We'll see how that plays out. But donating to the developers, I think, is something that these things should do, because they're profiting off of Bitcoin big time. So why not reinvest in the Bitcoin ecosystem that has no self-funding model, no incentive for anyone to develop Bitcoin unless they are paid by private companies? Someone, or really multiple companies and people, need to step up and create some sort of ecosystem that creates a healthy, developing environment for Bitcoin. Otherwise, what's the point? I could go work on X, Y, or Z cryptocurrency as a developer and make hundreds of thousands and have the upside for millions, or make nothing other than padding my resume working on Bitcoin. It's no wonder a lot of Bitcoin development has been relatively lackluster over the last half decade, as Bitcoin has become more and more expensive, making it harder to just get into Bitcoin and then reap the upside. There's so much more to that, but let's just kind of leave it at that. And remember that NerdWallet is not all that friendly to cryptocurrency, so I just hope that you know and are aware of that one, at least off some of the things I have read. But they are already posting articles about cryptocurrency ETFs, 6 current options, right? Cryptocurrency stock ETFs here, examples, Bitcoin ETFs. And so this is them establishing their ground framework, and soon enough you'll be Googling best Bitcoin ETF and they'll be trying to rank at the top of that and give you some options there. The key difference you're going to see between most of these ETFs is just going to be the management fee, as well as how they are going to custody these coins, and if they have any sort of ecosystem incentives like donating to the developers. And then simply you're going to be looking at some options that are available here and maybe not available there, depending on your trading platform of trust. The Bitcoin ETFs have absolutely dumped since they launched. Many people, as I know, especially in cryptocurrency, have rushed to get some of their dirty dollars and other fiat into these trusts and ETFs as quickly as possible. Let's pay some respect to Valkyrie's Bitcoin fund with the ticker BRR. Cue the money printing memes, please. Oh yeah, and WTF is an ETF. It's an exchange traded fund. Combining the flexibility of stocks and portfolio diversifying strengths of mutual funds, ETFs give you an affordable way to access a wide variety of asset classes. So for example, like some popular ETFs are like the VOO. It's by Vanguard, which has come under a lot of scrutiny when it's come to Bitcoin recently, which is pretty funny. The VOO ETF basically gives you the top 500 stocks. It's a very popular option for just a simple stock for people to buy to get like the main exposure on the top of the stock market. And then it's also a very popular option for people to put into their IRAs and Roth IRAs and other retirement accounts. For example, Miss Vosk, Alexa, is heavily invested in VOO because she just wants some very simple exposure to what she calls the non-shitcoin stocks, if you will. That's because it's the top 500 by their market caps. I put my money into some of the riskiest things under the sun. On the flip side, Alexa is much more conservative, and that's why she really appreciates an option like the VOO. I think it's a good option personally, and I either may have some in my retirement portfolio or I'll probably add some eventually. But I have fun picking all my stocks, and that's why big ETFs like that are kind of boring to me because I basically live in the market. I do stock and cryptocurrency research pretty much all day, every day. So this was verified true. Just so you know. And this is from Coby, if you're familiar with him, off of crypto Twitter, basically. He thinks that people are getting this very wrong. And so he posted this last year, right? Going long here, and that's in August 2023. Bitcoin's pretty much free. The ETF approval is the death knell, right? By the time BTC approves, then will likely be around $50,000 per Bitcoin. GBTC is unlocked with prices near enough to all-time high. Perfect scenario for GBTC baggies. They're back, almost whole. Well, next problem, DCG is in insane debt, and he doubts that they want to reduce their fee for their only revenue printer. So they'll hold these people hostage somehow, if possible. The effect is that a lot of people are going to dump their GBTC. And to be frank, if I was in GBTC, I would be dumping that as fast as I possibly could. And if I still wanted that same exposure, I would be going into all these new Bitcoin ETF options that every single one of them is a better option than GBTC from a point of view of the management fees, a better company, and better track records. And in this case, the grass is greener on the other side because there ain't no grass on this side. Other than the fact that they can finally get out of their positions that they've been held captive in by these parent companies. All the ETF buyers from the first week will be instantly down 15%. And it's pretty crazy when we look at some of the charts here, and they're all pretty much down 15% so far. And I'm down in my early positions because it was obviously going to go two ways. It was going to pump crazy or it was going to dump. But it makes sense that this kind of capital is slower to get into these positions. So I recorded most of this video a few days ago, but there's been some recent developments, and we still had it in editing, so why wouldn't we add some more information to it? ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF, BITO, which, let's say, is, or more like kind of was, the world's leading Bitcoin futures-based exchange-traded fund. It's cooled significantly since the launch of ETFs, or basically real Bitcoin ETFs. BITO shares worth just over 500 million changed hands on the New York Stock Exchange, a 75% slide from the record 2 billion registered on January 11th. BITO has witnessed a net outflow of over $270 million over that same period. Meanwhile, 11 spot ETFs registered a cumulative trading volume of 14 billion in the first week, which that's referencing the Bitcoin ETFs. CNBC, CBOE, Global Markets, Catherine Clay believes options are a natural progression for Bitcoin ETFs. The CBOE, the largest U.S. options exchange, filed with the SEC on January 5th to offer options linked to Bitcoin exchange-traded funds. They're saying that you're going to start seeing all sorts of hedge fund players in the space, folks who might not have been traditionally speculating on crypto directly in the crypto ecosystem are now going to have something to play with. If what happens in Bitcoin is what happens in single stocks, we're going to see retail in particular and a lot of institutions move towards 0 days to expiration options trading on Bitcoin itself. More results have come out. As we expected, it's not good. The FTX estate has 22 million units of Grayscale's Bitcoin ETF to sell, and that's just them. Everybody wants out of GBTC because they basically have been held hostage there. If I was in any of GBTC's, product or anything in the whole DCG ecosystem, I would be looking to get out as soon as possible and be in literally anything, even if I had basically the same competitor product, but to actually be in a company I would then be able to personally trust. FTX sold about 1 billion of Grayscale's Bitcoin ETF, explaining a lot of the outflow. Reportedly, FTX's bankruptcy estate dumped 22 million shares. Investors have sold more than 2 billion of GBTC. That 22 million shares, by the way, worth, just about a cool $1 billion. But check this out. It's not all bad news. Year-to-date flows per this article, which just came out. We look at Grayscale's ETF outflow of $1.6 billion. But remember, because these metrics are measured in just a cool millions right there. We look at iShares, iBit in particular, Blackrock's Bitcoin ETF, $1 billion inflow. We look at Fidelity, over $500 million. Bitwise, $378 million. ARC21, $254 million. Von Eck with the great HODL ticker, only 22 million, but still positive. A market analyst said that he would be surprised if any of these funds shut down over the next year, even the smaller ones. It's positive across the board other than Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust, GBTC. I have been really rooting for the Valkyrie Bitcoin Fund based on their ticker. But again, like we've discussed in this video, Fidelity commands the absolute utmost respect out of all of their competitors here because they are the self-custodians. They custody their own Bitcoin here in this equation. We've seen the initial launch, we've seen the initial excitement, and at this point, I personally think it will be a casual grind upwards with some spikes along the way, and it will really just essentially match the general Bitcoin cryptocurrency market. If we enter a parabolic Bitcoin crypto bull run, obviously these things are going to do well, and they may very likely outperform BTC, much like we saw Bitcoin mining stocks actually outperform Bitcoin's performance and returns in the last bull run. More volatile, yes. Do I own happily a lot of Bitcoin mining shares and Bitcoin ETF shares now prior to the next hopefully parabolic Bitcoin bull run? Also yes. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Really, I think Bitcoin ETFs will end up in a lot of retirement portfolios. Bitcoin by itself alone is really becoming its own asset class, digital gold. It's starting to be marketed as an inflation hedge, among other things, which of course it's always been. But the bottom line is, this is what I think will be the last parabolic crypto Bitcoin bull run. After this, Bitcoin and crypto is going to be normalized, and it's just going to be the riskier stocks. Okay, we're not going to see the crazy market swings. We're not going to see so many opportunities to 1000x, to 100x, to 10x. Obviously, there's still going to be an upside. It's still going to grow. There's still so much more to be had there. But if you're thinking like, oh, you want another bull run like 2021ish, or you want another bull run like 2017 into the really first month of 2018, this is probably going to be the last ride. And especially because of things like Bitcoin ETFs that will bring this asset class of cryptocurrency as a whole, including Bitcoin, from being around $2 trillion to tens of trillions, eventually $100 trillion. And there's great places for current Bitcoin and crypto holders to go, at least I hope personally, right? And obviously this isn't financial advice. I'm speaking from my own point of view and my own goals and focus here, but making content here on VoskCoin is a key thing we do here among building our own Bitcoin and crypto currency mining farm. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of the gist. This is the situation. If you wanted to get up to speed on what's going on with Bitcoin ETFs, why aren't we on the moon yet? What's the dump issue? Kind of everything in between. I hope that this video did that for you. As always, I try to condense hours and hours and hours of research with years and years and years of experience into bite-sized content here on the channel for you. If you found value, all I ask is you just subscribe, stick around, and join me on this crazy crypto journey, because it is crazy, it is fun, it is lucrative, and it is painful all in one. Yeah, it's a roller coaster. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you on the next video.